so he's part of this subplot where they're outrunning the First Order. For the first time in 9 movies, and the Clone Wars, I'm presuming, doesn't introduce fuel.
No, there's a whole episode dedicated to fuel running out.
The Shell service station, I think,
is that the
ran out of fuel.
when they go to the island, they find the giant ape?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. So they've never talked about fuel, and now suddenly it's an issue. But the problem with it being an issue is you have no gauge about how much of an issue it is.
We don't have a fuel gauge.
It's not.
What's this thing? What does it mean in this universe?
I've got the red, 3 light years to empty sign, but I reckon get a bit more.
But that's actually what they would have had to do. Like, if fuel was going to actually be an imperative in that story, you would actually have to have them looking at a gauge and going, okay, we've got this much left. We're now down to this. So you could actually have some sort of measure again. Okay, they're getting closer and closer to running out. As it is, instead you have this excruciatingly slow chase. Apparently the First Order, they have no way to scan for how far they are because they just keep shooting and they're just missing constantly, like by this much, and then by this much, and then by this much.
But that was just to remind them that they were still there because obviously they were going to just pull off and go home. Yeah, fuck this.
And as you said, I mean, apparently they don't have. No one's actually said. Snoke built this super ship and Starkiller. No one said in engineering. Let's build a slightly faster ship.
Let's have a few other faster ships around us. What if we actually just go to some of our other ships and tell them to stop in front of the people that are running away from us? Because, we can send Finn and Rose off to the other side of the galaxy to go gamble, have a punt, and come back and meet up with those ships. But I can't send any ships in front of these people we're chasing to stop them and shoot at them.
But it's not. You parallel the Empire Strikes Back and that chase scene where they're chasing the Falcon. And the Falcon's massively outgunned. And they know they're massively outgunned. That's why they go into the asteroid field and they have this really perilous fucking journey. And you see TIE fighters getting destroyed, you see the Star Destroyers getting hit. You can actually feel the urgency in that. And Hayam realised at the end, I got to do something drastic to fucking get away from this because we're not going to survive otherwise. In this, it's just... beep. Meanwhile, Poe's running around, what's the plan? I can't tell you.
And that's the other thing. I mean, at any given time, you can just depart that situation and go and do something somewhere else, like go to a casino.
We'll get to that too.
And never be noticed as you're running away by anyone on the ship.
Hang on, I want to give special mention. I didn't get his name, but the commanding officer of the medical frigate, who said, "It's been an honour to serve!" Then he blew up.
And why he was on that ship in the first instance while it was getting blown up, and why he didn't do the holdo maneuver at the end where just turn the ship around and go light speed through 6 ships.
She was the only one smart enough to realise.
Oh yeah, of course.
Alright, so let's go to that subplot now. So we're looking at Finn. Finn and Rose. So Finn meets Rose, and Rose goes...
Another wiki page.
So Finn and Rose are both wiki pages. Whenever you need any information about any tech, they just shot out. Finn shot out things about the fucking tracking.
Well, he cleaned them all, that's how he knows.
The bloody cannon at the end, Finn knew. It was like even getting to the point where the characters going, oh. I don't know if that was...
Of course you do. Of course you knew that.
Why were you even thinking that you wouldn't know that? Of course you're going to know that.
But... And Finn's treated really without dignity in this fucking movie. He wakes up in this little cryo tube or whatever. He gets up, he falls off the bed. So it's some stupid slapstick. He then walks around with all these tubes squirting shit. And then when he decides he needs to get his little fucking homing beacon away, Rose stuns him. And it's like, if you look at the original trilogy, the only character who was treated for slapstick was C-3PO. The rest are treated with a bit of dignity. It's really hard to fucking take Finn seriously. But while they're getting pursued, apparently they can just slip off this shit and go to Casino Planet.
Amazing.
And the First Order doesn't do anything. There's not even a mention of where someone on the First Order ship's going, there's a small ship leaving, what should we do? There's no even addressing it.
You got to understand that. And why they left the ship, because they figured out they were getting, tracked through hyperspace, and actually figured out that whatever little gadget they had was going to be on Snoke's on the lead ship, in this spot on the lead ship, because the whole computer showed the actual map of the whole ship, which is as big as a planet, and where this thing's going to be, and how to get in there. And then they go and contact Maz Kanata, who's fighting, it's in the middle of having a massive fight, he's actually chit-chatting away with them about on video game. It's just...
And let me just take a sidestep here, because when Finn and Rose pitched this plan to Poe Poe goes, we can't tell General Holdo, she'll never go for it. It's like, why? And then later on, when Poe does tell her the plan, General Holdo goes, oh, you've jeopardised all our lives. It's like, how? What Finn and Rose are doing has no bearing on anyone. It's like a Hail Mary. If it works, you're sweet. If it doesn't work, you've lost 2 people. It's no danger to you. It hasn't changed anything about your situation. And again, it's just sort of like, let's try and create some fucking tension around this scene. And it's like, where do you get the tension from? They've gone off on... They've during a perilous chase, they've actually just said, yeah, we'll just leave. No one's cared.
Yeah, we'll just sawn it back in. Same way the Falcon can just sawn around and just shoot an escape pod in.
Yep, no problem.
Maybe get some fucking help in, or hyperspace a bomb in next to the...
well, what about if you hyperspace a petrol tanker?
It has to
fill up the petrol tank.
You have to bring one that's faster than the
okay, maybe that's why the
Star
petrol tanks are slow.
But then they're also talking about, let's contact our allies in the Outer Rim. We never end up coming. But it's like, well, then why don't you just get some small ships to go, jump the Outer Rim and talk to these people personally and then bring them back. Finn is also, he goes to the casino planet, he's told, find his master code breaker. Him and Rose walk into this exclusive casino. Because that's what I do, when I go to somewhere like Monte Carlo or that, and everyone's dressed in the tux, I just go in shorts and, t-shirt, and they just let me in. There's no problem whatsoever.
With my robot.
Yep. So
they're the beach parkers.
He just goes in, he's arrested, or him and Rose are arrested, and then they meet Benicio del Toro. I don't even know his character's name. He's just really playing Benicio del Toro in this movie, isn't he?
Yeah, I have no idea who he is.
And he just happens to be a master code breaker.
Just happens to be in the same cell at the time. Who's the superstar code breaker that only one other person that Maskanata knows in the whole universe can break the code.
And then they have the most implausible escape when they're on these fucking horse beasts. The people in the First Order ships, they're saying, follow those ones, and then they just disappear from the scene, and Benicio del Toro picks them up. Again, there's a thing I really noticed in this movie, like I mentioned toward the end, is like characters move from where they were to where they need to be, even though there's no logical connection as to how they would have got there. It's really fucking ridiculous. And then the whole mission fails, and Finn comes back, he's captured, and then Captain Phasma, who somehow escaped the Starkiller base when she was locked in a trash compactor and the thing was blown up. She somehow is there now, and she actually then wants to execute Finn and Rose extremely slowly. I'm going to enjoy this.
With 6,000 stormtroopers looking on.
And then Holdo pulls a maneuver, and then when we cut back, the fucking cargo bay is decimated. All the stormtroopers, there's like thousands of them around, they're gone.
There's 2 bodies.
Yeah, there's 2 bodies.
You just saw one, though.
And then they all march back in through the clouds in formation.
That's right, and there's a pristine ship just sitting in the bay to take off. There's a pristine Empire ship sitting there.
And can we just make a special mention here of fucking BB-8, who on the casino planet apparently beat up 3 guards and tied up their hands.
You did that?
And Benicio del Toro,
a soccer ball tied up. Yeah. I would have been surprised if I was him too. You did that, okay.
And then he's shooting coins at the 4th one.
And stole the ship.
And helped steal the ship. And then on the First Order ship, he actually...
TST.
Yeah, and just fucking shot everyone. I mean, I'd be a little bit worried that, with this droid, somebody surely should be saying, I think this is like the Hannibal Lecter of droids.
Because I killed this droid, it's our most dangerous foe. It's going to lead the resistance against us.
They should just fucking reveal that Snoke is BB-8. He's been behind it all.
I would have got away with it too with a few pesky Force users.
When you go back to the original trilogy, again, you sort of the predecessors, R2 did quite a bit of stuff, but it was always like by hooking into an interface and all that sort of shit. BB-8, I don't know how he tied their hands and feet.
How did he start firing? How did he get into the ATST, and then, which is, I don't know, 10 metres up in the air, the first instance, and then it started firing at it?
I can only imagine BB-8 rolled up to the free guard with a cigarette in his mouth going, got a light? And when he went to bend down to give him a light, he just, tied him up.
His head sort of...
And let's not forget his impromptu repairs on fucking Poe's ship, where he banged his head into the console.
That's right.
Because,
to fix it, of course.
That's how you think. And again, you go back to R2, we always saw him sticking, his interface, his probe into interface or whatever, and he fixed things. We didn't need to know the tech. We understood it was happening because we
He was
saw...
doing a hack. He understood he was doing a hack, you know.
And that's pretty much every one of these successes until the prequels where he started getting a few little weapons, like he beat up a few stormtroopers, but then it still sort of made sense because he had like the oil spill and then you had
And the little zapper, you know.
So you couldn't understand, well, he's actually got those things. Somehow, BB-8 is tying people's fucking hands together. Is the most incredible little droid I have ever seen. Why would you even bother trying to get people into the rebellion, the resistance? Just build some of these droids. They will do the job for you. They are kick-ass. I mean, it got blown up and fucking ejected out of the hangar in 2 pieces and then just put itself back together. It's like, no problem. And I shouldn't, we didn't mention that. Fuck. Poe and BB-8 got blown up, ejected from his hangar, and they just, okay.
and
no problem.
And you got to mention at the end, Poe doesn't give a shit about Finn and Rose. He just cares about when BB-8 comes in and starts scratching it like a dog. You know? Good boy.
And all the other characters look around like, this is fun.
This is a bit weird.
And the really funny thing is, like in these 2 movies, like Luke spent a lot of time with R2 in Empire and New Hope. In fucking these 2 movies, BB-8 has been constantly separated from Poe. You think fucking BB-8 would just be looking around going, oh, you're just a shit owner. I'm hanging around with bloody Finn or someone, you know? It's ridiculous. Any last thoughts on those guys? Who cares?
The other thing was Benicio del Toro. I didn't mind that he turned for cash, which is fine, but how he knew that the rebellion was going off to that planet because he actually cracked the code and told the Empire that, I keep saying Empire, the First Order that these cloaked ships are leaving the other ship, you know. How the hell did he know? He knew. Poe didn't know.
Oh, fuck, I don't know. That ties into Rose. Actually, I don't know who the actress is, sorry. I actually thought she did a really good job with playing a shit character. She played it well, but it was a shit character. It was getting another wiki page. She could fucking do anything. She apparently is just hanging around in the hangar bay waiting for people to try and take escape pods so she can stun them.
And become part of the film.
Yeah. Is she the new Jar Jar? That's what a lot of people pose.
No, Jar Jar was a lot more interesting. He was essential to the plot for a start.
No, Jar Jar was very irritating.
Yeah, you seen Rose?
Yeah, Jar Jar was...
Jar Jar
Jar Jar killed that film. Like Jar Jar.
I don't think Jar Jar killed that film, but...
No, he was one of the bullets in the gun.
It was a mob. If you look at Rose, though, she's sort of introduced like the Lando character. She's the ally that they get in the second movie.
I'm thinking Lando. I can't see anything.
But Lando actually had depth. He originally made a deal because he was just trying to save his mining operation, and then when it started working out worse and worse for him, he then turned. Until that point it was working out worse and worse for him, he probably would have just went through with that deal and taken the money and run. Rose has absolutely no depth. Until the end they try and give her depth where she makes her little speech where it's like, it's not about fighting the things we hate, it's about saving the things we love. Pretty sure war does not work that way. And it's a really funny speech to come following General Holdo's ramming of the fucking the First Order ships. It's like, well, I'm pretty sure she wasn't saving the things she loved. I'm pretty sure she was just fighting the things she hated.
Pretty sure the guy commanding the medical frigate would have loved to have lived.
She really is just thrown in, it seems, because someone said we need Finn to do something, and he can't be there alone talking to fucking BB-8 the whole subplot. So what can we even do? Because that whole subplot's fucking pointless. It amounts to nothing.
Oh, it's worthless. So they should have done a lot more with other characters, your Lukes, and fleshing that out and what's happening than that whole subplot. Because it failed in the end. It was pointless. In the end, the whole thing was pointless.
When we look at Empire, it all sort of ties in. Han and Leia go to Cloud City. Vader tortures Han, which causes this emotional response in Luke, where he senses his friends are in danger, so he comes. So it all ties in. This is tried to have that same sort of interactivity, but nothing has any bearing on anything. And they tried to give it bearing, like I said, when she finds out the plan, she goes, "Oh, you fucking Gemini us all." There's no bearing on you. Why would you complain about that? And in the end, the mission fails, so they actually have no bearing on. And you'd think that someone would have said, if Holdo fucking has this plan to just ram, you think they just would have said, well, let's just get everyone off that medical frigate, we'll just ram it with that.
That's what I'm saying. The guy stayed on there and died. At least he could have just rammed it, did something with it.
Nah. I really just hate the way this movie's put together. I don't think it's intelligently put together. I think things happen because they need to happen, but I think that was happening in Fast also. And in terms of purpose, it just seems like everyone was running on the spot, bar Ray, who has this great moment for fucking 2 hours. I watched this movie to find out, oh yeah, I'm nobody.
And they had this real build up for that. I know who you are. You know who you are too.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a perfect. I think.
And then you're thinking, oh great, there's a massive letdown on the whole thing.
You look at the little kid who gets the broom and he just force wills it over to himself. And I don't know if Rian Johnson's meant to be trying to suggest this battle between good and evil, light and dark, will be going on forever.
Oh, it's the super broom users that come in. You don't train to be a Jedi now; you just know it.
But if that's what it is, it's a commentary on the nature of this galaxy and war and balance. It's like, well, then all these movies are just superfluous because whatever happens here is going to be redundant because the next 3 movies will just have the same battle between the same forces and you'll get the same arse clowns coming up out of nowhere to take over.
Well, you always got to think there's always good and bad. So it's the way I see it, you're always going to have bad guys come up because it's the nature of people. There's going to be bad guys that want to take over. That's just the way it is. So when it gets too far out of kilter, which is what happened after thousands of years, that's when Anakin came to bring balance to the Force, which is fine. But then,
well, that's the problem here. It's just like you said, Anakin thousands of years,
yeah,
where it came out of kilter. Here it's like 15.
Oh, yeah,
it's 5 years where it's happened, but you're suggesting with exactly the same sort of pieces, and like nothing has changed, other than names and genders, and that's where I think. Well, if that's what you're suggesting, then these movies, why would I watch them? Because you're just saying this is an ongoing battle which will never be resolved one way or the other. And it just gets, to become this fucking cycle that'll go on forever.
Why don't you just shut up and give me your money?
Sorry, Kath. Oh, sorry. Something I really hate about both these movies is the fucking coincidences that drive this movie and Fast. In this one, and we'll use Finn as an example, he goes to find a code breaker, he gets arrested, he gets thrown in jail with another code breaker who just happens to break him out. As they're running, they just happen to fall all into a stable where there's horses. They jump on these horses and they ride off, and although the authorities are right above them, they suddenly disappear, and Benicio del Toro just happens to be there to rescue them. In the first movie, BB-8 rolls across the desert, he just happens to bump into Rey, who then just happens to bump into Finn, who's helped Poe escape, and as they're escaping the First Order, they just happen to see the Millennium Falcon, they jump in, they escape the First Order, and then just in all the infinity of space, and I don't give a fuck if they say Han Solo is monitoring it, they happen to bump into Han Solo. And it's like all these massive coincidences that keep happening, and people go, yeah, but that's what happened in all the other movies. If you look at A New Order, this is the one I always compare it to, where...
New Hope.
Oh, sorry, New Order. New Hope. This is the one I always compare it to, is where R2 comes into possession of Luke, and then he meets Ben Kenobi and all that. But that actually has a methodology behind it, because Leia's actually going to Tatooine to find Ben Kenobi. She's actually going there to ask him for help. She programs R2 to get to him. Kenobi must be living next to Luke to keep an eye on him. So when fucking R2 lands and he's captured by Jawas, these Jawas only have like a limited probably amount of farmers they can go to. You look, it's just all desert for miles and miles. So it's actually not a reach to suggest, well, they get captured, they get sold to the Skywalkers. I mean, the biggest coincidence is that he happens to buy the one droid that he needs to propel the story, because once you buy C-3PO, that's the coincidence. C-3PO then says, go buy R2-D2. But we know that Ben lives close, so it's not as coincidental as people think. These movies are just driven by fucking whatever needs to happen, happens, so I can drive this story. And it really gets annoying.
It's not like JJ's ever done that before, though.
No.
I think that's a coincidence.
Well, yeah, that's not, But I mean, I just find it lacks any causality. It's just, well, whatever happens, happens. It's like, who cares? And the other thing, too, is The Force Awakens, we sort of touched on this, it set up a lot of little story threads which it never picked up. And, I mean, just to give you some examples, Rey's heritage was just dismissed, but okay, we can say that's resolved, if that's your way you consider it resolved. Snoke's heritage, the lightsaber got in Maz Kanata's chest, the way Kylo's betrayal unfolded in Fast and the way it unfolds in this one, that none of them marry up, and none of them are actually satisfactorily resolved. And you think, who's mapped this out? Who's actually thought about this fucking...
Nobody.
Who's thought about these stories? And you thought, well, what's the grander story? I'm sure George Lucas didn't have it all mapped out meticulously, but I'm sure he had like a grander vision for all of it.
I think they just... Ryan Johnson just made up stuff that he didn't like and ignored stuff that he didn't like and decided to do whatever the hell he... And
that pattern will repeat in the next one.
Of course it will, because I don't know where they're going to go. I don't know, who knows where they're going to go. They actually can do anything they want in this next one, because no one expects anything. I expect nothing. I expect nothing in this
will be a case study in directors at odds with each other. Or filmmakers at odds with each
could
other.
work Disney by getting two people who were going to tell different stories.
Who was going to do the 9? You got the Chop. Someone else is going to do it.
It was the Jurassic World guy, that Colin Trevorrow.
Yeah, that's right.
I think he was going to have a genetically mutated Jedi in it.
Well, so isn't Snoke probably.
I said this in the original review. I think you could probably get away with saying with one of Rey or Snoke, we're not going to go there. We're not going to go into heritage. Doing both just seems really lazy. And people look at New Hope and go, well, yeah, the Emperor didn't have any heritage. But in that movie...
His title was fairly much original.
But the premise is absolute. The Empire is in the ascendancy. That's all you need to know for that movie to operate.
It's an empire.
Yeah.
It has an emperor.
In these movies, the new trilogy, we have the original trilogy behind them, so we know what's happened. So if someone new is going to come in and take over, you actually need to give us some context.
Especially when he looks like he's been around for a while, he's super powerful, dark, force user.
Bad teeth.
No, half a face and all the rest of it.
But you got bad acne though.
You got to explain how he came to be in charge of the remnants of the Empire. You can't just let it go. It's just stupid. It's sloppy.
It is.
And do they actually have a story? So the question is, do they actually have a storyline somewhere, background of him that they're going to wheel out somewhere online? Or they just said, we just need a big bad and we just need to put him in. Well, I was just saying, well,
but the other thing is
going to be back, but have they actually got something, or they just said, no, we don't even need it? JJ said, I just need something.
No, but again, that goes to they just put in drivers they need without any sense of their existence. And in terms of like the Emperor having no backstory in A New Hope, they did explore that. It's called the prequels. So they did actually go back and give you more details there. They might have had it in that New Hope, because again, that was an absolute story. This time we have context. The First Order is not an ascendancy. The text crawl talks about the First Order rising, but gives us no idea as to how it happened.
And one of the things that kill me in this is basically they've gone from Galactic Republic to 40 people of
4 men and a dog.
4 men and a dog rebellion on the Millennium Falcon in what looks like about 3 weeks. So how do you get to...
I think it was that long.
I'm giving it the benefit of that. How do you get to basically galaxy-wide ruling body to 40 people in 3 weeks? It begs belief. And then they got the rings, of power that's got the rebellion symbol. So basically they made them up there. So they got
with a big lever on it.
There's a lever on it. So they got time to do that. And everyone knows what that symbol is. That's the rebellion symbol.
How good is that scene where Rose shows the little kid, hang on, we're okay. That's like, how the fuck would the little kid know he's a little kid?
He's gone nowhere. He's basically sitting in somebody's stable for fucking probably the last 5 years. And he's going to know that there's a rebellion that's been going around for 3 weeks.
And they got a ring.
They got a ring.
That's what you get when you join the resistance now.
Yeah, they should. The text crawl for the 9th movie, the 3rd movie in this trilogy, should just be Emperor Kylo Ren has issued a mandate that everyone with a ring must be rounded up and brought to First Order headquarters. It's fucking hell. It's just really stupid. And with this new trilogy, they totally shit on every character from the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Luke comes back as embittered. Jake comes back as Jake.
Comes as not Luke.
Yeah. Han comes back as he's lost the Falcon, he's lost Leia, and he's just scrambling around, and he has no real point to his existence.
And he gets killed by his son.
Leia tried to build a republic, and it's just destroyed. And then she, other than floating in space like Mary Poppins, she has no real...
Yeah, Chewie eats porgs.
Chewie eats porgs, does nothing really major. C-3PO has a red arm.
Yeah, he does even worse than nothing.
I mean, they physically
R2D2 does.
R2D2 slept through the first movie.
And basically slept through most of this one too.
And 3PO didn't have a red arm in this one.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
I envy fucking R2D2 in that first movie. Lando didn't show up. Wedge, Dennis Lawson, you're my hero. He just said, fuck it, I'm not showing up in this, you're just going to use me as a token character, well done.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, he's the genius here. So, none of them showed up. All of these characters from the original trilogy fought this great battle for fucking what? So they could become...
For disappointment, basically. It looks like. For disappointment, disillusionment, and being broken people at the end of it all, it looks like. Everything they did was worth nothing.
And I understand that can happen in life, that, you know, things can turn to shit. I mean, follow our football team, that, you know, you'll learn that the hard way, or the easy way, unfortunately. But in this movie, after watching the original trilogy, I did not project any of these characters would turn into what they did become.
No, nothing like it, and they didn't need to go down this path. It's just somebody wants to change everything is basically what they've done.
You look at
You couldn't even get them all on screen at one time.
No, yeah, that's right. You couldn't.
Well, I'm sure there'll be a scene fucking at the end of the 9th movie, The Shit Awakens, whatever it's called, where Rey and Kylo, after they've married or something, I don't know, fucking, they'll just be staring off to space, and there, the ghostly forms of Luke, Han, and Leia will just be smiling and going,
near perfect CGI.
yeah. Yeah, and it'll just be like, yeah, well, we're all happy now. We're all...
Yeah, you couldn't get them all in a scene in the Force.
Why would you?
Why would you want to get the band back together? That everyone will be loving that scene.
All the most endearing characters in the trilogy? Nah, fuck them.
I think that's the reason.
Well, potentially in through most.
No, I only hate it because they did something different.
I just can't... I could never fathom how these characters became who JJ and Rian Johnson have portrayed they became. You look at a lot of the shows that are picked up years and years later, and that's always like a difficulty. It's like, could you imagine that they became...
Did JJ... has JJ ever talked about that because obviously Luke barely appears in the first one. Did he ever say that this is what I think Luke's going to be? Or is this a Rian Johnson scenario thing?
I don't know. He was just clearly tacked on.
Who?
Rian Johnson. I don't think he had any vision beyond the fact that suddenly I got a phone call one day and I got a job on a Star Wars.
So written and directed by Rian Johnson doesn't mean much.
Oh, I mean that's you're talking about prior or
no. So when JJ was planning out this trilogy, do you think he had?
What was he?
Well, sorry. When he was saying that I'm going to make 3 films and make a shitload of cash, do you think he said I'm going to make Luke this embittered?
No, but that's
the person.
But that's the thing
that all,
Mike,
and that's going to be part.
The original writer was Mike Arndt from Toy Story. He was saying he was trying to write the script, and every time Luke appeared, he just took over. He just took over as a presence, and he could not work out how to make this movie work.
How to kill the character off, and
no, he didn't want to kill. He didn't want to kill him off.
I'm saying just kill him in people's minds.
Yeah,
he's going to take over.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
And then what were they saying? Like he said that he was trying to write this a year or something, or 18 months.
Yeah.
And you just couldn't make it work. That the new characters carried the movie. So Luke or Mark Hamill kept taking it over in his mind, and he told JJ, and JJ spoke to Lawrence Kasdan who wrote Empire, and so they took a walk on the beach
for a week and
nutted out the story,
ripped off A New Hope.
So their logic, it's
so nutted out the story and said we're not even going to put Luke in it at all.
And that seems to be their logic. It's like Mike Arndt expressed his concerns to say, I don't think this is going to work because I think people are going to be so tied to Luke and he's such a powerful character and a powerful presence. The moment you put him on the screen, he will take over this story, whether you intend to or not. And then JJ and Lawrence Kasdan have talked about it and they've just said, that does sound like an issue. What should we do? How about we just don't use him at all? And it's not even a plot point. As you see in this movie, it doesn't even become a plot point. It's just totally... a justification to not use him, and then when you actually finally bring him in, to try and kill what you remember of Luke and what you loved about Luke in your mind, so then they can do with him as they will. And to the point, Mark Hamill just was constantly griping about this, and you think he might know a thing or two about the character. Maybe, I don't know, possibly.
Well, he's the only one that's done he's the only one that kept up on all the Star Wars conventions and all the rest of it. He never sort of disowned it like your Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford. Well, not disowned it, but just distanced himself from it. He was always there. He was always talking to for the fans, always, you know, being there and going to those things.
And the thing is, Mark Hamill actually, you know, from the way he's portrayed himself in the media over the years, he's always actually seemed to understand it's a character I play, it's part of a role in the greater universe and all that. He didn't seem to be totally overrun by this character. It didn't seem to be his life.
No.
Like, you know, because you get some people play iconic characters and that's who they become for the rest of their life. He seemed to understand, that's Luke, I'm here, it's a movie, you know, you can love the character and all that, but it is a movie. So you think, like, with that attitude, he would actually, you respect what he has to say, because he's obviously not just fanatical in why he feels his character should be portrayed in a different way, but they've just ignored him. And that really shits me, because it's both movies, Fast and this one, Last Jedi, they really come across like fan-made stories where the writers have said, I'm going to use the universe, but I'm going to fucking put in some super kick-ass characters, and they're just going to rule supreme.
And they're going to upstage all the characters that you thought were kick-ass from the other films, you know. So my BB-8 is going to be better than your R2-D2. My Rey is going to be better than your Luke and Anakin and Darth. My Kylo is going to be better than you, and my Snoke is going to be better than your Emperor. My Darth, Kylo is going to be better than your Darth. But that's what it looks like. You're right. That's what it looks like done. I'm going to top everything that you've just done with my characters.
Right. So that's the story, you know, in the whole.
In a whole, that's right.
In a whole. It belongs in a whole. I mean, any last watches about this story or these two stories, Last Jedi and Fast?
No.
I'm going to ask you a few more questions, so just...
No, it's just really, it's the same feeling I think I had when I came out of the cinema. It's just like, I really didn't enjoy these. I don't know how you can fix it from here.
Watching these, I was surprised how fucking uninvested I was and how angry I was getting with really poor storytelling choices. Like I said, there's a lot of times
vanilla movie.
Characters move just where they needed to move. You know, it's like I don't know the woman's name, but the pilot who drops the bombs and the fucking on the
Rose's sister.
Yeah. She is laying on the bridge, she kicks, the detonator comes down, and instead of going catch
Or falling on her.
Yeah, she actually watches it pass her, past the fucking gangway she's lying on, and she has time to just flip over and catch it even though it's descending at a really quick rate. And it's like, I don't think that was physically possible. When Rose rams Finn, I don't think that's physically possible from where they were all heading.
You mean Finn, who's in the actual beam of the super gun and not getting blown up? That's Finn.
He's sweating a little bit.
That's sweating a little bit, that's true.
You know, when Holdo rams the ship, the way all those stormtroopers and Phasma just totally move, you know, totally in formation, but now they're 50 metres away. It's like that, it doesn't make any sense. And there's just constant scenes like that where I'm thinking, there's no way that character's gone from there, or those characters gone from there, and now they're here. It was just physically impossible to do in that passage of time. As far as this movie goes, I have some really exciting news. This movie has now officially become my worst movie of all time.
Was that Man of Steel?
Man of Steel is shit.
No, it's much worse than Man of Steel.
Man of Steel was always his worst.
I've always had I've had my worst movie, and this is excluding all, like, you know, B grade movies and really bad movies and all that, you know, which are obviously always going to struggle. Talking about commercial movies, my worst movie for 30 years was Highlander 2.
That's a bad film.
Because you look at the original Highlander about immortals running around who have to chop off other immortals' heads to gain information and knowledge and power, and then they're all fighting until there's only one left and he wins a prize. And you think, okay, that's a really sort of cool little fantasy story. And then in the second movie, it's like, goes into their origins, and they turn out to be rebels from another planet who were sentenced to live on Earth as immortals.
What a sentence.
And for 30 years, nothing has stopped it. Man of Steel was shit. It was really bad. It was my worst movie this millennium. It was really bad, but I can actually sort of go, well, at least he was trying something. It's terrible, but at least he tried something. Batman vs Superman's a deplorable movie, but again, at least they're going for fucking something. This just tonally was so far off with everything. It failed to answer questions from Fast. It failed to address things that would get carried over from Fast. It had this totally discontinuous narrative where you're thinking, did you even watch the first movie, or did someone just brief you fucking while you were taking a shit?
I read a wiki page.
Well, that's pretty much the way it plays. And they're just, all the characters are all one-dimensional. I think the only one that has maybe 2 dimensions of the new characters, maybe Poe sort of almost gets there. But the rest are just boring. They have no journey. Rey's a terrible character. She's not interesting because everything comes so easily to her. And you know what? Enough people have made this complaint that you think, well, you know what, there's probably some merit in it. Instead of people going, oh, you're just sexist, whatever. She's not an interesting character. And the whole universe is not a fucking interesting place. You look at the first trilogy, or the original trilogy, you introduce the Empire, you introduce Vader, okay, cool. In the second one, Luke faces Vader, loses. And Luke comes away from the information. Vader's my father. That sets up a rematch, which is going to be really fucking interesting. It's pretty much like the Rocky principle of movies. Rocky, he loses. Rocky 2, he fights the same guy, and it's going to be interesting because he lost the first one, and the odds are against him. In this one, in this trilogy, Rey's beaten Kylo in the first movie, and she beat him again. So what now?
How can she lose at this particular point in time? She can't.
And the main antagonist has been killed off.
Yeah,
they did beat her up. So.
Yeah, and as you said in the original review, you don't have to actually bring in another antagonist. But it's like, well, how are you going to get invested in this person you only seen for?
How can you bring another super bad when you just got another bad super bad that was already there?
It's like Rose's sister, you have this great sacrifice that she makes. It's like, well, I met her 4 seconds ago and I've just seen all these other pilots die, so I don't really have any investment in her sacrifice. Good on her, for fucking apparently dropping bombs in space. Where does this movie rate in your Star Wars pantheon?
Last. Probably just behind the holiday special.
I don't know, it's just behind.
Yeah, it's not great.
People criticise the prequels. At least he was trying something. He went for something.
Yeah, I think the one thing coming out of Force fast, we were pretty angry, and I think made the statement right off the bat. Suddenly, I had a newfound love for maybe what the prequels were, because at least they felt Star Wars. These films don't feel Star Wars to me still. They've just got some people that were in Star Wars in them, but the rest of it it's just a bland, non-eventful,
uninteresting
couple of pieces. Yeah.
They've ignored the universe and the laws and rules and they've set up in the
fans
that they set up in the first 6 films, and they've just decided that they're going to throw everything out that made running out of petrol. Seriously, this is a key plot point. I just can't get over the fact that you fucking run out of petrol. It's fucking ridiculous, and it's such a core part of this film that you've never talked about it, you've never discussed it, ever that you got to run out of petrol. And weren't you just on a planet like 4 minutes ago that you did fuel up if you got to fucking fuel up? It's fucking ridiculous. So, for me, these films don't feel Star Wars to me because they just ignored the rules of the game that have been set up on 6 other films.
Both movies to me feel like fan-made films where they needed a story editor from the original series to just come and go, no, that's not going to work.
I think they did Lucas, in all honesty. I think Lucas said, that doesn't work in what I've written back there, so you got to change that, turf that, do this, do that. So, you need to talk to, although Lucas pretty much, we think, stuffed up the first 3, he would have kept the rules of the game, as we're saying, the rules of the game the same. But the consistency across.
The prequels, they're not great movies, but to me, they feel like first drafts. Like someone should have told Lucas you need to work on these more.
Yeah, they've got a lot of issues. There's no doubting that.
Yeah, they need to polish those first ones.
These new 2 movies just don't feel like Star Wars to me. And they do things where people are going, it's clever and it's different, you don't like it. It's like, well, it's not that clever. And it's just filled with contrivance. And people who once had the bar here are just going, oh, I'm happy with it being there.
Because it's Star Wars.
But it's movies. It's like people say, why do you pick on the DC movies? You don't like because Snyder went to do something different. It's like, well, he went to do something that totally isn't consistent with that Superman character.
And different just doesn't automatically make it good either.
But you can do things different. As I said, Star Trek 4 was very different. After the first 3 movies were all heavy, that one was light, quirky comedy, set on Earth. There was no Enterprise until the very end. Really cool. Logan, really good example. Totally different. Wasn't a superhero movie in the traditional sense. You had this embittered Logan character. You had Charles Xavier, who was senile and all that sort of stuff. And that was just drastically different from anything they showed. But they did, totally, it felt like those characters were who they should be.
Yeah.
And you could, and again, that's sort of where we're talking about, like, can you actually imagine that Luke and Han and like became the characters they did? When I was watching Logan, I think I can totally imagine that Wolverine became just this fucking embedded little, chauffeur, but he feels his indebtedness to Charles Xavier and he takes care of him. Charles Xavier still has this nobility, but he's a victim now of his own, what was once his greatest asset. You look at that, I thought, that fucking makes perfect sense to me. And you sell it to me, and the story was great. And people, I remember I was having an argument on Twitter once with someone about this. I was going, I cited, Logan was different. He goes, oh yeah, but they did that because it was Hugh Jackman and Swan. So I go, that's got no fucking relevance to anything. I'm still just talking about the story. The story was different. They pulled it off because it was a fucking great story.
Consistency of character, consistency of the universe, consistencies of the... You've got to suspend disbelief to watch Star Wars or even Logan and all the rest of it. But suspending that disbelief, you still need a reference point. And as long as the reference point is consistent, you're going to invest in it. So Logan, the references and the characters and the universe and the world that it sits in is consistent with all the other movies that have been there. These movies are not consistent with the other movies that have been there, and the characters are not consistent with how they were and where you would have thought they would have got. So they just don't feel Star Wars. If you saw these films and they were the first two films, and forget the first six, so there's a lot of people that out there wouldn't have seen the first six films. They would have just seen this film and the next film. Those people, I think, it goes from a horrible film to just a terrible film for me, because when you don't have the existing laws and rules, so you can handle I ran out of petrol piece if I didn't know the other if I didn't know the other movies and you've never mentioned it. I could handle that at that particular point in time. But this just...
there's also that thing, I totally agree, but it's also, if you took away the other six, it's just not a very well told story.
No, I agree, that's what I go. You go from horrible to bad.
Yeah.
But
just the coincidences, the things that happen, the redundancies, again, if you take out the other six movies and you're setting up this antagonist in Kylo Ren and this protagonist in Rey, and they're going to face each other, and Rey beats him up, not once but twice, it's like, well, where are you going with this? Because you now have nowhere where, sorry, Disney, I'll apologise if in the third movie fucking Kylo kills Rey and just sets up a new empire. Yeah, that's really cool. I did not see that coming, but I can't imagine that's going to happen. It's not really great storytelling. And I mean, I'll go back again to the Rockies. Sylvester Stallone always understood in the Rockies, I've got to set him up as the underdog in every movie, or they're just not going to have tension and dramatic impetus. And that's why in every movie he's the underdog. Even when he's the champion, he's still a fucking underdog. In Rocky 3, he has to get his head punched in and come back as too old and all that. In Rocky 4, they find a 7-foot Russian to fight him. And he understands that creates tension. You do not create tension by having your protagonist twice beat up your antagonist.
They've got nowhere to go. Especially when you're starting at that point. You started with a no one from nobody beating up
a trained
gold star bloodline Jedi.
Oh yes, that is it from the Jump Off crew.
I jumped. So when did you jump off? I jumped off from the first time I saw it.
Oh, we jumped off. Yes, the opening scenes jumped me off.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. I'm Sly.
And I'm Spook, and thanks for making it this far if you've made it to the end.
And I'm the Chief.
And watch out for our next review, which will be...
I have no idea.
Infinity War.
Should
be a beauty.
Yeah. So very excited.
Great.
See ya.
See ya.